My best bet for day two is Hermes Allen, without doubt. Jamie?
Impero Pasta.
Go on, Daryl.
Impere Pass.
Right, back to the pair. Day two kicks off with the Ballymore Novices Hurdle. This is another race I feel like the Ultima. It's just one of those that I want to win. I like to spend a bit of effort into it. We've had some good winners of it down the past. This year's a semi-interesting one because I feel like in the last few years there's been a real obvious horse, and it's all well and good getting stuck into him early, but there's only so much you can get stuck into him near the day. This, it looks like a proper betting heat. The exchanges have been going up and down quite a lot recently. I I really, really like Hermes Allen, right? And I'm not sold that he is the second coming, that he's the absolute worldy type horse just yet. But I don't think we've seen the best of him. I don't think we've seen a ceiling. And I do look back at that race. I know it was against Fabrisco, but that race at Cheltenham when he went off and he just never stopped. I can just see him doing a very similar thing in this Ballymore, popping out in front. I think he's a good enough horse that he can just go. I know the horses in behind for that race form doesn't stand up. I know the Challow form doesn't particularly stand up, but I do think I thought maybe he could have been like ground dependent. The Challow proved that he's not. We talk about good horses being able to win on any type of ground. I think it's just another sort of feather in his cap that I think he just has a serious engine. I like the comments as well from Paul Nicholls saying that they thought it was ordinary at home. He was a massive money purchase. And with Nicholls, we know they're always thinking about chasing. So sometimes I feel like maybe he holds a little bit back with some of his hurdlers. Like he doesn't want them to peak yet. So he can always say, look how much I improve a horse over a fence. I think Hermes Allen, potentially, the fact that he's setting back from the Challow and it hasn't always been designed, I feel there's a little bit of him that's probably framed him as though he thinks he's holding a little bit back, but he doesn't realise actually how much horse he's got. So I think Hermes Allen has a right chance in the Ballymore. I am very much open to the fact that I could be wrong. Like I don't think he's absolutely bomb proof. It's more of like a gut feeling as opposed to like rock hard facts. But I think he's done it. But he has just impressed me with his few runs. And I do think that he's a fair enough price, right? He's 5-2-ish general with the sports book. He's been out as big as 7-2, nearly even 4-1 on the exchanges recently. So I've been having a few good on there. Lots of money for Impere Pass. I know you've got some depth in behind because you've got Goodland. You've got Gaelic Warrior. Like, there still is depth in there. Like I don't think he'll win it. Even in the pocket is a potentially like reasonable horse. Don't know if I mentioned Champ Cardi there, but there's like it looks a good race, doesn't it? So I think whatever wins this, if something goes and wins it by a bit, it is a proper horse. I still think Hermes Allen's an okay price, so I've been nibbling him. I am a little bit worried about other horses, but I don't think I'll be covering anything. So I've had a reasonable bet on Hermes Allen. I think he's going to win. Daryl, I know you don't hate him, but I know you're just not necessarily in love with Hermes Allen. Who do you like for the Ballymore?
I like Impere Pass. I think he could be a very smart horse. I was like lukewarm on him until I'd started really going into this race. Like as soon as he won at Punchtown, I wasn't like blown away like a lot of people were. Then I went back and watched it, and he just jumped and travelled so easily, and it was like Paul Townend almost got him to quicken down to the last at the wrong time because the hurdle was approaching. So he only sort of managed to sort of half quicken. Then he jumped a little bit high, and then he landed the other side, and then he quickened again. And like just from the back of the last to the line, it was faster than anything else on the card the entire day. And I thought, well, I'll go back and have a look at that Nace run because like the more I was looking into it, the more I was liking him. And he quickened clear so easily at Nace over 2.5. And I just thought, my God, at Punchestown, he was only just getting going at the end of that race. And I thought he's going to love a step up and trip. If you haven't seen his run in France in a bumper, go and watch it. It is absolutely eye popping. Like this is a serious horse. I think. I genuinely think he's got the potential to run a mark well into the 150s here for me. And I don't know if Hermes Allen is that type of horse. If I mean, he's sort of run just below 150 for me at the moment, but like I feel like because Hermes Allen ran at Cheltenham over the course and distance in that grade two, I feel like it's almost easier to envisage him winning this race because he's been there and sort of done it. I just don't think he's the caliber of an Imperial Pass. I don't. the Challow hurdle form is like it's worked out in spits and spats, but they've gone out and won nothing races when they've actually gone out and into proper races like grade twos or whatever. They've been sort of beaten out of sight, other than Marble Sands, who I think definitely wants good ground. I thought Harry Cobden gave him a great ride, kept him on the inside on the best of the ground, because the way they water at Newbury, it gets worse on the outside as opposed to the inside. And then I obviously did the time for that race and stuff. And this was at a time when everyone was trying to say that the leader went off like a bullet from a gun, Vicky Vale, and everyone just got it completely wrong about the time comparisons in that race. Like he didn't know Jupiter the Geek later on the card, when he would have been disadvantaged by the worsening of the ground, did much better than Hermes Allen did. And Hermes Allen just did it with a bit of swagger and a bit of style. But I don't like these horses, Dave, that you say when you say, oh, they thought they bought a dud and now he's impressed them on the track. I don't like that. I like it when trainers are getting excited about a horse at home and what they can do, and then they go and prove it on the track. I think that Paul Tanner thinks a lot of Imperial Pass. I couldn't have Gaelic Warrior for love nor money. He's got beaten the Boodles off 129. It's hard to forgive that. No winner of this for the last 33 years had prepped in a handicap last time out. He jumps violently out to the right. He's got stamina to prove. I think there's so much against him. Goodland's only been running up to a mark of 140 for me. He was good in that for Nathaniel Lacey. I thought he was clinging on at the finish. That was a joint lowest RPR of 141 for the Nathaniel Lacey in the last 10 years. I don't think he can run to 150. Champ Kylie needs to have the lead. That's your biggest issue with thinking that Hermes Allen's going to pop out and make all the running, because Champ Kylie did not settle until he got the lead in the Royal Bond, and he is going to be under Danny Mullins, I suspect, and he's going to pop out and try and make all the running. I think there's loads of Deadwood at the rest of them. I really like Dave. I really like this Imperial Pass. I really like him.
Nice. I'll give you the chance so we can have the back and forth on it, right? We do need to go to Jamie after this, so I'm going to make you sit on these comments for a second. The comments I'm going to make you sit on, right? And this is not just to like me trying to bolster Hermes Allen, but we say about like franking a form and stuff, and obviously when a horse goes out and does it after. And Pere Pass has only won a grade 2, right? So again, like in terms of where Willie Mullins sticking him in there, he's run on soft, he's run on heavy ground, and in that grade 2 that he did win, for all that he's won it an absolute canter, he beat a mare, and he's beat a mare that can't win a grade 3 mares race, couldn't even win a listed mares race. So it's just within there. As much as like individually he's done a lot of stuff, I don't think there's any substance to his form in the slightest. Like he could be good with Willie Mullins as well, right? When it comes to these types of races, I feel we all know Gaelic Warrior probably isn't good enough to win this. If Gaelic Warrior was good enough, he'd be his Ballymore horse. But he is running Gaelic Warrior in behind Pere Pass. Champ Kylie as well. Like if he was that good and he was not uncomplicated, he might be Willie Mullins' horse. And as much as Willie Mullins might think a lot of him, and Paul Townend thinks a lot about this horse, I don't think they think that they're that good, because he wouldn't be running 3 of them against each other. So that, like, I'll let you come back to them in a second, but I'm not sold on him. But I'm the same. Like as much as I fancy Hermes Allen, I can see a little bit. When you're saying about as well with Champ Kylie wanting to go off and get the jump in, I'm so confident in this with Hermes Allen. Not that he's going to win the race. I'm so confident that he jumps so good, nothing will go with him in those first few flights. Like they can try and do it. I reckon he's gone. I reckon that he will come to be out in front. I reckon Copter to be quite confident. He'll just pop him. Like Champ Kylie, as much as he's keen on that sort of stuff, I can see him pulling Danny's arms out. If they let him go too far forward, he'll be having to ease him into flights. Whereas I feel like Hermes Allen's just a very proper horse, will do him. Anyway, I'll let you come back in a second so I can make you sit and stew on them. Jamie, we've mentioned quite a few horses in the race. Have we mentioned the winner?
Daryl Carter's mentioned the winner, yeah.
Fuck's sake. Right, you can have a go at me for all those facts. Well then, send Pere Pass to me.
I agree with Daryl. I watched that bumper win in France. I've watched all these races, and yeah, look at him. And like he gains, and like when he jumps big enough, and he jumps well. But when he goes, and after the hurdle, he's flying in after the hurdle. Like, do you know what I mean? I'm very worried because I have lots of bets on Gaelic Warrior, because now I think Patrick Mullins is going to ride him. And he has no chance of Patrick Mullins on him. Like Patrick Mullins won't even be hold. I mean, like, come on, like the horse will want to go right all the time. No, a huge bet him in the DRF. Like he was going to win, he was well handicapped. Now if Paul Townend picks Gaelic Warrior, I'd be delighted. right? Because I think he'll win then. But with Patrick Mullins, I'm totally gone off him now. I think he's no chance out. Your biggest problem with Hermes Allen, Dave, is that Champ Kylie will beat him for the lead. Danny Mullins is going to put him out straight away. Boom, out. Good luck. And if he wants to keep up with Champ Kylie, they're going to cut each other's throats. And Paul Town will be sitting there waiting with a load of horse under him if you come down to the second last. I heard Absolute Notions is coming here. He's no chance with the form of Goodland. Goodland, I don't know. He's good. He travels well in these races, but is there a finish? Like, he was tying up, I thought, to my naked eye. I know it's a furlong, longer this year. He was tying up badly in Absolute Notions. I think he's in the wrong race. I think he should be in the Bartlett. Like In the Pocket, as you mentioned there, beat Absolute Notions out the gate at Naas. That day with 3-car brag in the race. There's another one in here I thought was staying on well in the race that at Tomp one with Dark Raven. But see, the only thing is he really a grade 1 horseman? They have Imperial Pass there, so I don't think so. Yeah, I think, like, if you look back at it, Dave, I know, like, you can see when Johnny Deneen and David Jennings interviewed Paul Nichols. And they didn't even know what they had. They brought in the bloody Stratford for his first run. Like, would you bet Paul Nichols, a good horse, will go to Stratford for his first run? And then he beats what's Music Driving the pecking order for Gordon Elliott? Nowhere to be seen. And Darrell's old favourite dog, Hugh Briscoe. Like, where is he in the pecking order? He must be about 20th into the fucking in the pecking order. Do you know what I mean? That's my biggest one. No, you say exactly what Darrell said. You go back, you wear it well to come out and won a race at Sandown. Thomas Moore rocked up off a low mark in a handicap in Ascot. Marble Sands beat Rare Edition. But my biggest problem with Hermes Allen, he's a good jumper, but Champ Kai is going to pester for him for the lead. And I think they'll cut each other's throats. Townend will wait there and Imperial Pass to scoot home over the last, and good luck.
Nice.
And he'll win. Imperial Pass.
Right. I will let you get in there, Darrell. I still think with the Hermes Allen stuff, I know he's led in his races, but I think he's running shit races, which we probably could all agree on. Even the Challow was shittish he ones. And they're saying about, like, obviously that last race, the mare went out too quick and stuff like that. I don't think he needs the lead. And like there with Champ Kylie, that probably does want to be prominent because he pulls up. I think Hermes will be fine with it, but we're going to find that stuff out, aren't we? This I would liken to, like I say, in recent years, you've had like your Sam Crows, Renvoy and even Sir Gerhard last year. Like there's horses like Bob Ollinger's and all of those as well. Like there's horses in there you look at and you think this looks proper top draw. I just feel a little bit like this Ballymore doesn't look like anything like convincingly on what we've seen so far. We could ever say any of them are like proper top draw. So again, I just hope something goes and wins it. I'm weirdly confident about Hermes Allen, but I know that I can't really back it up. So on Impere passed down, like I say, I know I knocked a couple. Like the mare couldn't win a race. The horse that was third for Martin Brazil was pulled up in a bumper after that, didn't they? They didn't even bother going hurdling after it. Do you want to say anything in back, or you just want to say he wins, didn't you?
Well, he's like, you could knock that form all you want, but he's won by a street, and you could probably say the same about Hermes Allen. But like, I thought that You Wear It Well in the Challow was very unfavoured by a racing position, being dropped right out of the rear of the field because she was stepping up and tripped for the first time to try and get the trip. She clocked an excellent circuit time, exactly the same as Hermes Allen did, but I thought Hermes Allen was well positioned. Look, I'm not a massive fan of any of the British novice form. He's the best of the British, but what has he been beaten to make him the best? Like a load of rubbish, in my opinion. I think they think quite highly of Imperial Pass. I think, like, you could knock that 6th win at Punchtown last time all you want, mate. But I tell you, nothing. He could have gone round again. Nothing would have given.
Yeah, no,
you know
I know. I do stand with that. Like I say, I read into stuff that doesn't necessarily need to be there. I read into the fact that Willie Mullins has sent him to a grade 2 and hasn't run him in a grade 1. But again, I'm reading into stuff that doesn't necessarily need to be there. Anywho, selections for the race.
Hold on. Yeah, but the grade 2 wasn't a Moscow Flyer. Like, you look back at the horses that he sent to that grade 2 Moscow Flyer. The Dysart Dynamo last year.
Votor.
Get a Bird, Min, Duvan, Votor. Like, those are the horses that have gone to this grade 2. You can't just knock him because it's called a grade 2.
But
it was really a grade 1 in name before.
They were 2 minors, weren't they? And they've all, like, a bar like you, Votor, Min, Get a Bird, Dysart Dynamo, they all go and get beat. I know what you mean, though. Like we like, it's like, especially for Willie Mullins, he's got so many horses. What's happened previously in the races, like the Royal Bonds, all those sort of things, like, it doesn't matter, does it? Got a chance.
I would
Eddie.
back this horse. I would, if this horse ran in the Supreme, I'd back him to win it. If he ran in the Ballymore, I'd back him to win it. I think this is the best novice hurdler
Yeah,
out there.
I'd back him straight away, Daryl, as well. And Dave, if I back him straight away, if he was in the Supreme, I think he's the biggest certainty of all time.
Agreed. And that's where I feel like, again, we talked about the Supreme before, didn't we? And we're all like, no one's really confident. We think they could be good horses, but they might not be. I just think it's that more than anything. I reckon there's just maybe a middle impact. Hopefully he is a worldie. Like I say, I feel like Hermes doesn't have to be an absolute worldie to go and pick this up. So that's why I'm with him. So I'm Hermes Allen. You two boys are in Pairway Pass, right?
Yeah.
Yep.
Go on the Hermes. Right, going on to the Broadway Novices Chase, right? This is a race we talked about in New Year's. Probably all a bit glum in the fact that we were like, you've got to fucking just back Jerry to Colomb. But none of us really wanted to. None of us were really that bullish about him. And obviously we're sat here now. He's done what he's done at Sandown. He is the favourite for it. I feel like we'll probably almost default to the same type that he probably is still an okay price. Like he probably still is the winner. But none of us are really in love with him. I'm just putting words in your mouths there. I have backed him a little bit. 3.3 wasn't the exchange last week. I felt like 9 to 4-ish about him. I want to get him in the book. I felt that was okay. Do think that Matt Chapman made a good point when he talked on the Out the Races thing in terms of like class, like Time Hill, where he placed in a stairs, what he's done in the past. Like he is the class horse in the race. He has looked okay over fences as much as he's looked bad at times as well. He does love Cheltenham. So like I do think Time Hill's got a chance. Like he'd be a plausible winner. Sadly, I think the Real Whacker's borderline like a plausible winner, even though I wouldn't really fancy him. Feels a little bit like the year, I think it was Shane's Hill that won it, and Black Lion was in there, some other ones. I feel like it's one of those, again, types of years where there's a few of them that could be in the chances. They might be all there or thereabouts. Like I say, I have had some money on Jerry Colomb. I've had a little bit on Time Hill already before. I won't be getting too excited in this race. Probably one I'll just sit back on it. I don't see any of these horses turn into Gold Cup horses. I think the Gold Cup horse we're going to see on Thursday for next year, but probably if anyone was saying to me, Dave, what do you fancy in the race? I'd say that Jerry Colomb probably still is an okay price off the back of what he's done. I wasn't blown away with the Sandown run, to be honest with you. I don't think Brown's that much of a worry, but Gordon does say that he wants there to be some level of ease in there. So that maybe he's a bit more ground dependent than people are trying to excuse for. But I think he wins it. I don't think there's a massive, like, where's a horse at a stupid price that could outdo this. I think the market's probably got it about right. I'm just a bit lackluster to get excited about it. So, Jamie, are you more enthused?
Yeah, not really, Dave. To be honest, it's not really a great race in my eyes. You know what I mean? I know we were watching on the screen at the Dublin Racing Festival that day, and my biggest crib with him was, he jumped like you're jumping around Sam around well, like, but when he jumped the last, he kind of stuttered into it and still won. Do you know what I mean? So it looks like, there's lows left. I would be slightly worried about the ground. Yeah, I would be. No, I know he's won on yielding ground in Thurles, and it was not that soft in Thurles that day when he won in that Michael Purcell last year.
I do think the rain's going to come, though. To be fair, like I don't think
I think he'll get away with it. I think he'll get away with it. I know he beat Balco Coastal and Thunder Rock, and look, Thunder Rock needs 3 miles. I think the Real Whacker, I suppose the form, I suppose with your dog, Ron Morale, who we beat at New Year's Day, and Thunder Rock in the race. I thought Thunder Rock got an awful ride by Hiskin that day. I thought Thunder Rock was the best horse in the race in that race. Like he's formed in with Indigo Breeze. Like it's not Indigo Breeze would go around 10 miles and he wouldn't win a race. Do you know what I mean? He's that slow, and he was backed to the DRF and then 2.5 mile handicap. I couldn't see it from me because he's just a complete absolute boat. If Thing had, like, my weakness here is obviously his horse and I love him a cigar, but the biggest problem with him is he's no experience, and I would be backing him with no experience. If he had more experience, I think he'd win the race. Now he might turn out and he'd come out and he'd probably win the race. Do you know what I mean? I don't really have got. I think Time Hill is. I suppose. Thing with Time Hill, if they go slow, I think he has a chance because then he can keep up jumping. But if they go really fast in this, like, will they go really fast in this race? That's very questionable. If they don't go really fast, he would have a chance, yeah. But it's like you said there, Dave, it's like by default, you're coming back all the time to the proven horse. And think he's the proven horse there, and it's Jerry Colomb, and I think he probably will win. Like, it's not
lovely. So you're
selection.
really excited about the race too. Yeah,
not really. Not really. No,
this is what
really.
like I do like talking to you boys about this more than anything, because it's nice to talk to all sorts of people. Like I feel like I've got a good bunch of people that I can bounce ideas off. But I like it. I like it sometimes when I feel like, am I missing a trick? We come to similar sort of conclusions. That doesn't mean we're always right. Dazzler, I know you would have put some effort into this race. Time Hill, beginning of the season, you quite liked him. But I would think you were, I wouldn't say like you were the first to admit, but I think you were at Exeter when he made his chase debut. And then after you were like, I don't know, I mean, you can say how you felt, but I feel like you were like a little bit like, I don't know, disappointed or deflated with it. But then obviously what he's done since, borderline brings some enthusiasm back. Like I know you like the horse. What's your take on the race? How do you see it now?
I've backed Time Hill. I backed him obviously after that extra run, but then I'll text you saying I think he'll win a Brown Advisory after that. But then after like going back and watching it on TV, like, and I was there at the row, and I something didn't feel right with me is his finishing effort. He just finished so slow and tired, and I thought, God, like that's not what you would have expected to see like in that sort of caliber of race, really. It looked like he won it very, very easily, but he did finish very tired. Now, it might have just been the fact that he needed the run. He's obviously bombed out at Newbury next time, and then gone to Kempton, and he won really well at Kempton. I thought that was much, much better with them cheek pieces on, like much, much better. I loved the way he hit the line that day. That was a good finish. They were going to go to Reynoldstown, but obviously I emailed Philip Hobbs and told him not to go to the Reynoldstown, and then saw him at Wincanton, and he said, "We've decided, thanks to your email, we're not going to go there now. We're going to go straight to Cheltenham." So I think that gives him a massive, massive chance because he's got a great record off the back of a break. He loves Cheltenham. He goes well at this time of year. This will be his best opportunity now for a Cheltenham Festival win. Like he ran a blinder in a bumper. He ran really well, finished fourth in the Albert Bartlett, second in the States Hurdle last year. Like this has got to be his best chance of winning. I know he's a 9-year-old. I know they've got a terrible record, but surely if he's going to win a race at the festival, it's this one or none at all. So like I keep coming back to him. I've got to be honest. I do keep coming back to him. Jerry Colombe, all this talk about that he needs soft ground. I don't think he needs it for him. I think he needs it for the other runners in the race to slow them down a bit because I think he's slow. Now, he got outpaced. He tried to hold his position at Sandown, and the ground was softer than the going description at Sandown, but he tried to hold his position early on and he couldn't do it. And then he was outpaced twice in that race, including when coming around a bend. I think he'll improve a ton for going up to 3 miles. I really do. But it just does concern me that he is an unbeaten horse that has been so lukewarm in the market all year. And he's not been left-handed. He's not been to Cheltenham. Like, it's very strange to see an unbeaten horse ready, available to back at 2-1, like this far in the season for the Cheltenham Festival in a race as bad as this. So that just it just doesn't sit well with me for some reason. Do you get what I mean? So. Yeah, I don't know. Like if he went and won by 10 lengths, you'd be going, Christ, that was a great price for an unbeaten horse in that terrible race. But if he was beaten, you'd be like, yeah, see, we knew something was dodgy.
Yeah, because
we didn't trust it.
Because none of the connections are that confident. Like Jamie Codd's talked about, and they snipped something, didn't they, in a written article saying that if he could ride one horse at Cheltenham, it's Jerry Colombe. You watch him on that at the races preview, and he was like, yeah, it's like he's a nice horse, blah blah blah. And then they say about that he's only gone right hand. He's like, yeah, I hadn't thought about that. Like he's not the sort of horse, you know, like when you get excited about someone, you just keep watching replays, you keep planning their future, you think about everything that can happen with them. There's no air about that with Jerry Colombe. That sounds rude. He feels like an afterthought horse. He feels like he's good enough because it's a shit year, but they don't really want to get excited about him because they were never excited in the first place.
He did hang right as well at Sandown at the finish when he was all out. He hung right across Balco Coastal. That. Like, I don't know if I might be living in your fantasy land here, Dave, making up stories, but I don't know if they've kept him right-handed on purpose.
Yeah, I agree. Actually,
you know what I mean? And
exactly.
Nothing's been said about it. Just where he hung right at that, I don't know. Look, if you had to push me for a selection right now, I would say I would take a chance and hopefully the fairy tale comes through for Time Hill and back him each way, and hopefully he's going to run into a place at least.
But not massive confidence, I'm guessing. Jamie, what would your selection be?
Jerry Colombe.
Okay, so mine, I have backed Jerry Colombe. I've openly said that. I do feel like the way we've talked about it as well, even more now, I do feel like the real whacker could just go out, jump, and then that's it. Like Time Hill makes mistakes, Jerry Colombe could get out base. Like he could go and nick it out in the front. Like I have backed Jerry Colombe. I'd say he would be my selection, but it's a race that.
Not think he'd to get taken on by Sir Gerhard.
But Sir Gerhard can't fucking jump.
Can't
No,
jump.
but I think he's the fastest horse in the race, and it wouldn't surprise me if they went out and tried to dictate this from the front and use his speed.
It could easily be that. And I know we obviously haven't mentioned him that much, have we? It's one of those, right? That even if I spent 20 hours looking at it, I'd still sit at the same point where there's 28 races, isn't there? This almost feels a little bit like a handicap that I can't solve the puzzle of. Just let something go and win, basically. I feel.
I know he won his point, like, but do you think he's there?
So Gerhard,
I don't.
Yeah.
Wow.
No,
I don't think he'll stay.
I didn't think he'd stay in that bog at Cheltenham as well as he did, though. To be
I
fair.
didn't think he would either. Yeah, I agree with you there. I didn't think he would either.
It's a hard one because no one's going to be saying have a lump on Sir Gerhard at 6 or 7 to 1 that he is. Right, so we've done the selection for that. Let's move on to Coral
Cup. Yeah.
So again, we don't need to keep this short. Coral Cup is mental. Willie Mullins has started to get better in the Coral Cup, right? So again, like I do like the trendy stuff just to see what trainers are doing. And he didn't have the best record in the Coral Cup of horses that he ran in there. In recent years, he's always had like a handful of horses that could come here. There's one for the Coral Cup that you latched onto for Aintree when he won at a massive price, Darryl, a little bit after. But he gets these horses that potentially have got the chance, and he always seems to make the right decision in recent years of which one to run in there. Like May's one has gone close. That's another horse that's gone close. I think did he win it with Blurberry, didn't he? But
Blurberry won it. Wicklow Brave. We got beaten in
I don't think this horse is very well handicapped. But I just need to give him a mention because I feel like there's a little bit of a chance within him. I feel like if Willie Mullins decides to run Care Allen in here, I think Willie Mullins knows with the horses that he enters. No, but I feel if Willie Mullins runs a horse in this race now, he's not running him for the sake of running. So Care Allen, I feel like it could be that sort of profile type horse. If he runs him in here, he knows he's got more under the bonnet than we do. The one that I'm really struggling to stop looking at, and it's pissing me off because loads of people are mentioning it, it feels really obvious. I just feel like Campron's going to shit home. And it's really it's really annoying me because I'm struggling to get away from it. So I'm trying to like not sell the horse to myself. Last year, you mentioned in the race, Jamie, that that fast or slow, the ground went against him in this race. I feel like
totally went against Campron. You're right.
And if you watch Campron in there, like he ran so well, and he had one of those weird seasons, didn't he? Because he went and won the Persian War. Then he comes to Cheltenham. We got some inside information from somebody that's got a connection of a horse telling us that this horse won't run. So back Campron, and with the rule 4, you're going to get a stupid fucking price. So we did, and he only just scraped home that day, didn't he? But I feel like there's enough to suggest that you'd have to trust that his last runs are bad. I feel like he's just one of those horses that I want to have a few quid on. So I have had a few quid. I've tried to get 50 at 10s on the exchange. I've been back with the bookie, so I might have to go to Hills tomorrow or something to get some 8s or 9s. I think Campron's got a chance, and I'm struggling to get away from him. Care Allen, if Willie Mullins runs him, I'll have a save on, but I'm backing Campron, and then I'm just licking my wounds if something else comes up. Do you boys fancy anything? Can you sell another horse to me, Darryl?
I could just give you 3 that I've got my eye on just quickly. That's good. But I need to see the makeup of the race, really. An epic song for Martin Brazil. Now I'm not sure if he's going to go here or the pipe, but this horse has not been put in a race at all this season. He is a horse he beat called Bread and Butter last year at Punchestown, or back in December 21 at Punchestown, who beat him by 6 lengths really easily, really good performance, career best RPR. In a handicap of 124, he's in it off 137. That horse went out and ran 4 lengths behind Campron at Punchestown later that season. I think he's a horse that they have definitely handicapping for something quite big. He's a nice horse. He really caught the eye at Fairyhouse. It just was never put in the race, just all hand and heels. It was quite embarrassing to watch. Like JJ Slevin just like move his elbows rather than his hands. The other one is Captain Combi, who I think is an improving horse. They thought this was a graded horse a while back. He had little chance of Punchestown back in November behind She Wears It Well. He didn't quite stay the 3 miles, and he was held up at the rear of the field. It was a race that just turned into a sprint, but he was given too much to do, to be honest with you. And I thought he caught the eye again at the same venue last time behind San Salvador. I think he's improving. The way he went through the Aintree Mersey Novice last year, the Grade 1, he just looked to me like he was a horse going places in the future. So Captain Combi's a 16 to 1 chance. And then, of course, the one I did really like for this, but it's become a very, very popular selection, is Beacon Edge. He's never, for me, he's never stayed 3 miles, but he was an excellent fourth in the Stayers a few years ago, just like sort of bombed out a bit. He's a spring horse. He was back to form at Navan last time. And I mean, I noted Coral Cup for him. The moment I saw him finish third to Blazing Cow, who I think could go and win the Stayers. So, yeah, I think he's interesting off 147, but I don't know how much he'd got in hand, in all honesty.
Oh, mate, see, that's the I hadn't even got it, and I'm a fan of Beacon Edge as well. Like I do like him as a horse. Another one of those that he's definitely not a Grade 1 horse. Might not even be a Grade 2 horse. But there you've just said 147. Fine, that's another 20 quid I'm going to chuck away. Jamie, anything else to add to the shortlist? Because again, this might be a good time to just mention about like the block bet stuff. These competitive handicaps, because they are competitive handicaps, regardless of ones that are fancy in there. It is well worth on each day when you've got the handicaps or over the first couple of days or a few days of picking 4 or 5, sticking them in doubles and stuff. Who else am I sticking to the list, Jamie?
But if my horse runs here and he wins, I'm going to retire and go off into the fucking sunset if he wins, because he's crying out for a bit of good ground, but he can't jump the poor boy.
Go on, the Rocco.
Sure. Look, we'll see. He's a little bit of form of Blazing Cat as well, isn't he? Give him £5 that day, beating level length. So we were dropped £5, 135. We're happy with the handicap mark.
Yeah,
look, if he runs course form, we'll see. Don't think he jumps well enough now, Dave. I think he'll shit his pants when he sees a big field. But like that's what it is. Like, because the poor boy, like poor fella, like the slower they go, he'd have a chance. If they went really slow, he'd have a chance because he's a bit of a kick at the end. Like he seems to, that's the way he runs. But the faster they go, oh god, no, he'll cry. I was like Daryl as well. I totally like this an epic song, and I copped him, had a look at him as well because he reminds me of Fast or Slow because they did the same thing last year. Remember, these form figures were Fast or Slow. These two form figures were 0-0. Same with an epic song. Put him out the back and try not to get too much tax off the UK handicapper. You mentioned a horse that I really do fancy him now because if I think he runs here, because he's crying out for a step up and trip. If I care at him runs here, I can't see him out of the frame. I really like him, and he needs just to step up and trip. And I think he's a great chance. I suppose the other one I'm coming down for, I might have fell inside the toilet, inside the bar after being crying in the toilet when we lost 7 into Liverpool. When a fella goes to me, well, he was mad for Charles Burns, and I said, well, they have Biker, they have Blazing Cal, and whoever else. He said, no, you're forgetting one. And he goes to me, and when he tells me one, like he's trying to get a horse off him, is like drawing blood from the stone. But he said, you're forgetting about Run for Oscar. And he said, you're coming back to, he loved the ground. I suppose he finished third at Haydock, didn't stay the 3 miles behind Botex Lads in that the old Betfair hurdle that raced that big 3 mile handicap. I suppose the quicker they go and the better the ground, you'd have to give him a chance off 147, the same mark he ran off in Haydock that day. But really, if I care Allen runs here, I'd definitely go to back him, yeah.
I like it. So we've got plenty of names. We'll quickly just do the summary of that, and then I'm going to cut it. We'll move on to Champion Chase and wrap those buttes up. So for me, it is like I can't get away from Camprons. We want to have. I've just got to back him. Probably going to have to have a couple of good on Beacon Edge after what Darryl said. But yeah, Iker Allen. Like honestly, I genuinely feel like what Willie Mullins runs in these races now, he's not running them for the sake of it anymore. He's running them for a chance. So if Iker Allen goes, I fancy that a bit. Darryl, you were
Captain Combi, an epic song, and Beacon Edge.
Jamie, you were
Run for Oscar, and my main selection would be Iker Allen, yeah.
Champion Chase time, right? This is a really, really exciting renewal in the fact that I think it's a hard puzzle to solve. I've sort of sat on the point recently where Edwardstone feels the solid one. I feel Energumene potentially could still be the beast, but then the last one at Cheltenham, I can't buy into the white bits of wood. I can't understand how him running like that is going to be solved for next time. It's just like Willie makes nice comments after, right? So I feel like if he was really disappointed, you'd know about it, like he did with Lofty Mouth. So can't completely write him off. I'm not backing Edwardstone to win a Champion Chase. Like I know it sounds stubborn, but I don't want to back him to win a Champion Chase. So I talked about this before. I made a little bit of a case for Grenadine. I think on actual figures, I don't think he's got that much to find. I think he's like a bit of a knocking each way better, 33-1. I think he goes off at 16s or 20s. So that's where I'm out of it. I'm excited to watch the race to find out what happens, but I just don't think I'm going to be heavily invested in it. Darryl, this will be a race I suspect you will have a nice, strong opinion in.
Yeah, I do like the case that you've made for Grenadine, I must admit. It's been playing over in my head for the last few days, and yeah, I can see him running well at a big price. To be honest with you, I'm not entirely sure he's. I've never thought. I thought of him as a 2.5 miler, not an out and out 2 miler.
Yeah.
It sounds silly, but he could get this set up quite nicely for him for a strong finish, Dave, can he? So I will be backing him each way. But I'm going to back Edward Stone. I just, no matter which way you try and unfold the Clarence House, I think he comes out as the best horse in the race.
Yeah.
And for me, I'm not having the argument of people saying, oh, he's only won one of his last 4 starts. Yeah, he has, but he was over the top at Aintree. You could argue behind Gentleman to Me. And the other one, he's unseated his rider and he's been beaten ahead in the club. Like, come on. Like, that's not a reason to knock him, I don't think. I don't think he's done anything wrong. I think he'll be running a bit closer to the pace this time around. I think tactically, he's versatile. You haven't got to worry about that. Whereas in Ergamine, you sort of got to worry, well, what they're going to do? Are they going to go out in front? And have a battle with Editor De Geet and Gentleman to Me, or they're going to drop him out the rear, or they're going to sit in midfield again where he's a little bit tap for toe. The simple facts for me is I think Edward Stone is the fastest horse in this race. And that's as clean cut as I'm going to make it for now, because you can tie yourself in knots. I did say to you, I liked Gentleman to Me. He's the young, improving horse with a fantastic spring record. That's been touched upon by multiple people now. But again, I'm not entirely convinced Cheltenham will really suit him with an uphill finish like that. I know Leopardstown has an uphill finish, but it's predominantly flat track. Other than that, for me, Edward Stone, I think he's the best horse in the race, and I can't see him winning back-to-back champion chases, but I can see him winning this one.
Nice, I like it, and that's the thing of it. Like I say that I'm not going to be to back Edward Stone. Like I was stubborn enough last year that I didn't. That race and the Clarence House, when we would like try and make excuses for horses, I don't think there's a single person in the world, being honest, that didn't think he was going to win by a few lengths after they jumped the last. He traded 101, and it's not like a 101 horse that's gone clear and been picked up or fallen or something. He was 101, and he was never in front. So I like genuinely, the whole world thought that he was going to go in that race, and I know he didn't go and do it, but it's so much more plausible with the fact that he just wasn't going to win. He just wasn't ready.
He had too much ground to make. He just had too much ground.
Oh yeah, and that was the right thing as well, because that's been commented on a preview as well, that Tom Cannon, not to critique a jockey, but assumed that assumed that Energumene was his biggest danger, so followed him for too long, got caught in a bit of position, and then had to do too much from a few out to get to that last. Technically, you'd say if he's that good a horse, he still would have won it. But at the end of the day, Alan King knows how to win Cheltenham races, and Alan King is not going to give a shit if his horse comes second in January, as long as he wins in March. So you're selling him a bit more. The worst thing is, mate, we used to love him as well.
Oh, we loved him, didn't we?
On the Reef, and then we just, for whatever reason, went off him a little bit. It was bad, and anyway, we come back round. Jamie, what do you make of it? Is Edward Stone the one?
Yeah, he is, Dave. Yeah, I'm just playing out this race in my head because I think, what's his name, Gentleman to Me and Zedrg and Energumene, they're all going to go want the lead, and I think they'll cut each other's throats. Now, this time Tom Cannon won't be just falling like he did, stupidly falling in Energumene that day. I think Editor G I couldn't have now, but if the ground comes up good, because I think he's soft. Gentleman with Me would like the ground, but obviously he has to prove himself up a proper hill at Cheltenham compared to Leopardstown. And I think Energumene, exactly what Dara said, you ride him out the back like he did last year. He got lucky last year in the champion chase, Dave. Everything fell into place. He was ridden out the back. The race fell apart, and he just snooted home in a monsoon ground that day. What happened, right? Which she loves. So I'm all for Edward Stone. I think the ride Tom Cannon gave him last year in the Arc was fantastic, and I think he'll have him closer to the pace, and he's just a faster horse. Once he jumps to that last, he'll scoop clear, and I think he'll win by a good couple of lengths. I think he's a really good horse. I think Edward Stone, and you could crib sometimes about he's jumping like you're something heart in your mouth kind of stuff, but he jumped well off the good ground last year in the Arc, so I have no qualms about that. As Alan King keeps saying, I prefer to run him around to get the freshness out of him. That looks like the plan, and look, I think he'll just win. I think he's the best horse in the race, and I think he'll win.
Happy days. I do think as well, it's another key thing to touch on is he was ready for the slower, and the ground was too quick. He waited from the slower all the way through to the Tingle Creek, and we talk there that Alan King wants to run the freshness off him, and he shit home in that Tingle Creek, like probably one of the best 2-mile performances in the last couple of years.
I agree with you totally.
And that wasn't even ideal for him. So yeah, I'm now you guys have sold it to me as much as I didn't want to get involved. He's about 15 to 8-ish on the exchange, right? I might be able to get a little bit bigger than that. I feel like Edwardstone's the bet, so I'm probably gonna get stuck in. So there we go.
Dave, do you think you get 2-1 on the day?
I think you will.
Maybe, yeah. And that's
I think they'll plough into Ergobin. They'll forgive him for the run in Clarence South.
Yeah, I agree.
Maybe, yeah. Well, if I can get the 2-1 or near about that now on the exchange, so I'm quite pretty happy. I can't see anything too much bigger. So I have had the Grenadine each way bet. Like I think it's plausible, but I know that things have got to go wrong for him to win it. Even though I think he could, but things have got to go wrong for him to win it. But I definitely think he'll place. And I'm going to get stuck into an Ergomin. I say stuck in, like I probably, for my sort of stakes, I might have 50 quid on an Ergomin at 2-1 if I can get it. Darryl, you're going, not an Ergomin, Edwardstone. Darryl, you're going to go for Edwardstone, right?
Yep, Edwardstone.
Jamie, Edwardstone?
Edwardstone, yeah.
Good man. And it's worth saying as well that you did say last year that he'd win the Arkle, Jamie, and you were right. Cross country. This is one where it shouldn't take very long to talk about this, right? Because as far as I'm concerned, Delta Works should be banker. And the thing that I get really confused with is when he was running, all they ever used to talk about was if it's a good ground, he'll be my best chance on a Gold Cup. If it's good ground, he's our best chance on a Gold Cup. And then he wins last year in a bog on the cross country, and all of a sudden he's a soft ground horse. Like I do not believe that Delta Work needs a bog to show his best. Maybe with age, maybe there's something I don't know about the horse. I don't buy into all that ground stuff. So I like Delta Work. I felt like he was relatively bomb-proof. There has been some stuff going around recently, which is making me feel a little bit uncomfortable, right? So he touched 2-1-ish on the exchange recently, Delta Work. And it was around the time off the back of some stuff that's being sent around where I don't want to name too much stuff in case I'll get the person that sent it to me in trouble, but another Irish trainer told one of their owners that Galvin shits home in the cross country. And it wasn't even prompted. Like he didn't ask, what does he fancy in the race? Like it was unprompted that they reckon he's going to shit home. And there's other little bits of comments, which you can read into as much as you want, where there's a few people talk about Galvin being the one. And I know last year the ground may have gone against Tiger Roll. I don't think it was in favour of Delta Work, but they smashed the granny out of Delta Work last year, didn't they? And I'm starting to get those Galvinish vibes now. So if you'd have asked me a week ago before I heard of this stuff, I'd be telling you to have the lot on Delta Work because he shits home. I still personally think he wins, but it's been mad of me to ignore the fact that there's some stuff going around that makes you really question if Delta Work's fine or whether Galvin's some sort of beast or whatever's going on. And considering it's from the same yard, not to say they're going to do anything untoward, but if the money's down on one or the other and there's just them two in the race, because it does look like there's nothing else that could get involved, who are we mere mortals to know which one they want to go and win? So I really fancy Delta Work regardless of that stuff, but I just wanted to make it clear that there seems to be some really weird comments going on around about Galvin. Jamie, you heard anything or do you fancy anything in the race?
Yeah, I saw that thing going around, about Galvin, and when they brought him in and they didn't know who he was and the whole shebang. But anyway, I know what you're saying, Dave, about the race, that he needs good ground for the Gold Cup and all that, and the rain came last year, and to be honest, I don't think he would have won the race if the rain didn't come last year. I think Tiger Road would have won if the ground was quicker. So you'll have Rob James, who can't claim in the race. I don't think in this race. It'll be on Delta Work. Davy Ross is going to pick Galvin because he's definitely going to be on Galvin, Davy Ross. And I think the better the ground, which is going to be a good ground because that place is like a road half time anyway. I think Galvin will absolutely romp home if he gets around. He will romp home. He'll win that on the snaff, but like the way Tiger Road won. I think what Delta Work I think needs an absolute monsoon again to win it, but I think if Galvin gets around, he'll win. And I think he'll win easy. And he's borderline banking material for a bad race. When you take your life in your hand at those bloody cheese wedges, yolks, whatever the fuck they're called. But
it makes me feel like hearing wedges, this, but like hearing this from other people and then hear it from you, from again, literally just from a money perspective. I'm trying to predict what the markets are going to do, right? He's only
Galvin
about
got favourite.
and he's only about 5-2 with the exchanges. I think he's about 5-2 still with some booking. So he's 5-2 at Bet365, 9-4 in some places, a little bit shorter. I'm just trying to think in my head, right? Let's just say, for conversation's sake, not saying I do this, but let's say I'm going to chuck 200 quid at the race. I feel like I could have a ton on Galvin now at 5-2 to secure 350, and I feel like Delta Work's going to be at least 6-4 on the day, if not bigger, because the money's going to come for Galvin. So I might get 2-1. So I feel like it sounds mental, but I cannot see anything else winning the race slightly. I feel like I might have to start doing it. I might have to start getting some money on Galvin before the money comes. Dazzler, did you look at the race? Did you hear anything? Do you give a shit?
Yes. No, I do give a shit. I do give a shit. But it's just, look, I have heard things, but look, there are wiser people than me on this particular race. Like you said earlier, 28 races. I don't really want to get stung. To be honest, I would fancy Delta Work, who's been there and done it. You know, he ran a blinder at the on trials day. Like, I would fancy him, but like, it's very difficult when you got something like Galvin coming in here, like rated 166. I mean, did Delta Work even reach rating 166?
He has, I
no,
think.
Low 160s.
Low,
Low 160s.
oh no, he did. Yeah, he reached 170, didn't he? Yeah, he was fifth in the Gold Cup.
I think he did.
Yeah, he did. Yeah, sorry, yeah, but like, Galvin is so, for me, so ground dependent as well. So if it is quick on this day, I know we have got some rain coming, but like, I don't know. I haven't seen him school. I've never seen him over cross country fences. I ain't getting involved, Dave.
Fair enough, and that's the key thing to say about it, right? We all want to be right. We all want to be on the winners, but there's a time and a place to pick your battles, right? Even if you were like last year, Tiger Roll, not being mental, I had a chunk on Tiger Roll in the week building up to Cheltenham. Then it pissed down with rain. I started to shit myself a little bit. I'd had a little saver on Delta Work at 9-2, sort of like a stake saver thing. But I really, really, really fancy Tiger Roll. And there's only so much you can really fancy horse in a cross country. And I told myself that as I was backing. I was like, you're just being a twat, because no one, you don't really know. There's not as much tangible form to see what horses are doing. So it's one of them, and it like, back what you want to back in the race. Don't get too excited about it. There are words going around about Galvin being absolutely unbeatable, bomb-proofy stuff. But don't let me put you off of Dirt Work for the fact of that. But he's short enough. I'd imagine the anti-post punters, the people that might watch this, we've already got Delta Work in multiples at 2-1, 3-1, or whatever. So let them roll. But we're going to sit here now. If I had to say it, I still would say I fancy Delta Work. Jamie, you're going to say Galvin, right?
Galvin, yeah.
And you would have said that even without the word to be said. Daryl?
No, it's just a no bet race.
All right, perfect. Let's move on to arguably the best race of the week. No, I like it. I like the Grand Annual. Now they've moved it to this track, I like it. When it was on the old one, there was too many trends that lured me into it. It was a Friday. Didn't really give a fuck about it. Now it's on the Wednesday. I get a little bit excited. Dad's Lad was one that when he ran at Cheltenham, I think a lot of people felt like twats for not backing a Willie Mullins horse that was sent over for October. The only time he's ever done it. Gets stuck in, all that sort of stuff. Does look like the British handicapper has finally reached the point of the general public and just thought he's trying to set this horse up to go and win a race. And he's punished him, isn't he? And again, I go back to that romance of Willie Mullins. I feel like Willie Mullins sits at home at night and just looks at the races that he hasn't got a good record in and just thinks, I'm the fucking bollocks. I'm going to fucking go and win this race. I still give Dad's Lad a bit of a chance, is what I'm saying on that. But with the whole Willie Mullins sat there in his chair, stroking his cat as he spins around, that's a guitar. When he sat there and he's thinking, I don't think he ever thought that Dino Blue would be a Grand Annual option, but I reckon she's got an okay-ish mark. I don't think her form is that horrific. I reckon she's got a bit of a squeak. So there's only so much of a case you can make for these horses, because again, a lot of it goes on the fact that they may have been dogging or whatever. Dino Blue's definitely on my radar, but well found enough in the market. So, I don't know, let's hope she drifts or something. Dad's Lad could be muggy each way money, could see him in and around it, but is Willie Mullins really going to have two-place horse in the race? Final orders, I like the fact that they're going to bottle the Arkle and they're going to come here, because if you've got a 150 rated horse and you think you can go close in an Arkle, you might as well run it in a handicap, because it's got to be able to run mid 150, so it could go okay. But Dino Blue's the one I'm semi-interested in. I never really get stuck into this race. I think it was when Robbie Power won on Sizing John, and they were interviewing him after the race, and he said, "I can't really
Rock
spend
the
time
world.
to celebrate this. Yeah, I've got to go win the Grand Annual after." And I'm like,
Yeah.
I'm in the midst of everything else that's going on. I just remember hearing that comment, and I was like, "I've just got to have a back on this Rock My World," and like it's shit time. So I feel like it's one of them. Gets nearer the time, there's going to be some obvious moves in the market, or someone's going to fancy it. Even like when Sky Pirate won it before, there was money, there was whispers and stuff around it. So as it stands at the moment, I'm excited about the race. Think Dino Blue's on the radar. Don't really fancy anything else, even though I mentioned a couple of others. But I'm excited to see what goes on there. Have either of you cracked it yet, Dazzler? I feel like you have.
Yeah, I've got a good. I think I've got a good. I've got a couple of good ones. I think. Grey Diamond's first of those for Sam Thomas. I think he's targeted this race for Grey Diamond. Last year, this horse wore a hood for much of his runs, for many of his runs, and this year he's been without the hood. Now he returned at the November meeting, beaten 3 lengths by Amarillo Sky and Fugitive. Fugitive is £18 higher in the handicap. Amarillo Sky is £15 higher in the handicap. Grey Diamond was just sort of outstayed by those two up the hill. But that was the race that Sam Thomas stuck Stolen Silver in. I think it was that race when prepping him for the plate. He then goes to Sandown and he travelled all over the field, completely all over him. Looked like the winner. He looked Sandown anyway, but he looked like the winner, going very easily. Fell 2 out. This horse in second called Corrigan Rock. Follow this horse because this is very, very well handicapped. Was beaten next time out by Bundoran, but went far too hard. Literally 3 of them cut each other's throats, and Bundoran just picked up the pieces. But this horse did really well to stick on. Finished 12 lengths clear of Kel Destan. It's only gone up £1 in the handicap. So that Corrigan Rock, I'm sure, is very well handicapped. Excitations had been beaten previously. The winner of that Sandown race been beaten previously by Alexia de Nuts by a neck. Has obviously gone on to run really well in the Game Spirit. This horse is only £4 higher than that Cheltenham run back in November of 135. I think there's a big part in him, and I think he's going to have a big chance. He's a 20-1 shot. He usually goes to Sandown in March. It's probably for this weekend actually, and pick up that race. But I don't think he's entered. I think coming here is definitely the plan. Yeah, he's not in. So he's definitely coming here as the plan. I think this has been the target. He's a fairly prominent racer, but without the hood, there's definitely improvement to come. He could literally have £10 in hand off 135. So I think he's got a big chance. The other one is Saint Segal, who travelled so well in the Boodles handicap. Don't shake your head at me. If you go and watch his run back at Doncaster, he was just outpaced at a crucial stage. He stuck on really powerfully at the finish. He is definitely better than 139. I know he's a 5-year-old. I know they've got a terrible record, like one since 1953 or something. But this is an improving horse on the upgrade. He likes good ground. He goes well here at Cheltenham. He could have a big chance. And obviously, Dad's Lad, we mentioned earlier.
Is it not a Jane Williams horse?
Yeah, it is a Jane Williams horse.
Yeah, I feel like I learned the hard way. The Jane Williams horses, they pay for Christmas every year at Christmas, and then the rest of the season's just their own. But you could be right. I like the first one. I'm literally in the midst of sticking some hard-earned cash on there. It's an interesting fact. I'm on Sky Bet, where I can have £250 worth of liability. At one point, Grey Diamond traded 102 on Sky Bet's website, where they made a typo. So they obviously fancy him too. Jamie, anything you like in here? I feel like you like Grey Diamond too.
Yeah, Darryl just exactly echoed what I'm saying about Grey Diamond. I put him up that time we were doing the November preview, and I thought he was a bit unlucky, but I kind of made a man out of him, kind of that they're going to fast pace behind Amarillo Sky and Fugitive. You see what they've gone up in the handicap. I was sick that day, Sandown. I was all over him, and when he fell, I couldn't believe it because he had absolutely rocked him. Now could be a blessing in disguise because he didn't get too much for it. I think he's been laid out all seasons for this day. If he's running around the track, what's not to like?
That was his first visit to Cheltenham as well, which is interesting.
Yeah.
Like, he's not one of these horses that's been here before.
Well, Auchen Risk would obviously have a chance because he's going to go out in front and he might not be caught. Like, do you know what I mean? But the only thing is there's going to be lots of pace here. With Fine Lauder's going to be up there. when I got a lovely text message afterwards inside in the bar where Daryl Carter said, "You absolute bollocks! You put me off Global Citizen last year
Oh,
after the
you
race."
did. You put us all off Global
Yeah, yeah,
Citizen.
Global Citizen. I suppose like Andy Trufrain is off the same mark, and I think if they put a claimer on him on better ground, you'd have to say like he'd have a chance. But would I really want to be going back on him again? Not really. But Darrell just said exactly what I was going to say, and I think it's Grey Diamond for me. Yeah.
Lovely. So we've got a couple of mentions in there for different bits of horses. I'm not bullish or anything. Like I said, I'd rather see it. So Grey Diamond, I've had a little couple
And
of quid on
Dino
there.
Blue has absolutely no chance. Sorry.
No
I know
chance.
she doesn't. No,
She
of
won't
course
get up
she
the
doesn't.
hill.
I
She won't
know.
get up the
And
hill. That's the
again,
problem. That's the problem.
I
Won't get up
know.
the hill.
I know
She's
I'm
talented,
really
but
bad.
she won't get up to it.
I know I'm really badly snobbish for this, and I don't. There's not even any need to say this because it's just ammunition for people to throw back in my face later down the line. But I feel really mean saying it out loud. But the lad, Jane Williams and Chris Gordon horses, when we talk about a Cheltenham Festival preview, like
I know, yeah.
we just need to like. I don't want to be rude about them, but then they're not winning at Cheltenham. There's a little quickfire reverse forecast for you in there. Let's move on. Let's move on to the champion bumper because there's someone on Twitter. This would have been a rant and racing thing. There's someone on Twitter that talks shit, right? Shock horror. There's someone on Twitter that talks shit. So proper talk shit. Acts like Barry Big Spud's got this bit of info, this sort of fucking stuff. And there's always a tweet that goes out, right? There's a tweet that goes out, and it's based on nothing other than speculation, but it's always tweeted like someone's told him something inside, right? No one will talk to this person. He's got no inside information, but the way he puts it, even me, a speculative person, at times has read it and thought, he might be onto something here. And I feel like a twat, right? Something was tweeted recently, right? And I could easily eat my words on this, right? I like fun for the bumper, right? I know Patrick can't make the weight. I know that they could save her for Aintree. I think she runs at Cheltenham because I think she's that good. I do not think with Patrick breeding and all that sort of stuff, they want to waste their time. No one knows what's happening with horses. I think he'll want to run her, and I think he won't care if someone else wins. Like, obviously, he wants to win on it, but from a breeding and all that sort of stuff perspective, I'm pretty sure Fun's going to win, right? There's lots of comments that Patrick's put out about all their bumper horses. He publishes stuff for the Racing Post. He has talked about fun, and he said on certain comments, there's no horse I'd rather see travel by me in the champion bumper than her. However, like he really fancies it for me. And I know he fancies it as much as Daryl does. But this guy basically just put two and two together that some random person at a preview night said that they'll wait till Aintree. And then he basically tweeted saying that he's got information that Fun will not run at Cheltenham, run at Aintree. I went and looked at the exchanges because I had a small wager on her on the exchanges, and she went out to 20s, right? And I'm not joking. It's either the preview or what he's tweeted is like enough to make it move. She's back into like about a 9-1 poker, in and around the mark that she should be. But oh yeah, like a rant and a racing type stuff, like it just fucking infuriates me. So she may not run at Cheltenham. In my heart of hearts, I would be very shocked if she didn't run at Cheltenham. I feel like she should run there. There's no reason why she can't run at Cheltenham and run at Aintree, or she could run at Cheltenham and she could run at Punchestown. Aintree Mare's bumper is not like the pinnacle of horse racing in the slightest. And if you've got something that could be half decent, you run him in the right place. So I think she'll go to Cheltenham. I genuinely think she's got a right chance, but we'll have to see, won't we? I know that Willie Mullins' comments, right, where they said they didn't think she was ready. Patrick said it as well. None of them expected her to do it on the course, did they? And counter to what we said earlier, when certain horses drift like Brandy Love, we're like, oh yeah, the yard, no. Sometimes I don't fucking think they do. And you said this to me, Daryl, was like a proper counter to it straight away. And I was like, yeah, they didn't think she was ready, that sort of stuff. You're like, they backed her off the fucking boards, mate. Like someone knew she was going to win. But I think it's more from Willie rather than being a punter stuff. Like maybe he was talking a little bit more like in the race, didn't think she was traveling, all those sort of things. Maybe didn't expect her to do stuff. I genuinely think she could be top tier. So I fancy Fun the bumper. I do think It's For Me is the most likely other winner. So I would say it's between the two of them. But I just really hope that Fun runs. Because if she doesn't run, then I'm obviously completely and utterly wrong. I'd rather she runs, gets beat, and I'm just wrong that way than they don't even run her at Cheltenham. Because if she's that good, she has to run at Cheltenham, surely, doesn't she? Do you, like, I'm not even going to go to you, Daryl, because you're just going to say It's For Me wins, which is fine. Jamie, what do you think of the race? Who wins the bumper?
I suppose, Dave, I bought into one horse that I was all over for with the mare, and you're on about a mare, and you do say, "Oh, a mare never wins a Cheltenham."
Oliver Sherwood.
It's probably going to go to entry like fun. I think, to be honest with you.
But no, but that's but again,
yeah.
I know I'll get dogs abuse for slating trainers, but that's the difference, right? You've got a
Yeah.
Willie Mullins trained mare, or you've got Oliver Sherwood. I know it sounds so shit to say it, but they're the ones you send to Aintree.
Yeah,
Anyway,
I know, but I thought Johnny Burke give Queen's Gambit an awful ride last day, and Marco race.
You were
He did.
never going to beat that Dysart.
I know,
never.
yeah, with the weight and all that. Look, she's probably no chance in it, at this stage.
No chance.
I don't really have a strong opinion there. I remember that horse I said at the start here when I met you in Bedford.
Better days ahead.
Like, better days ahead. Like, it looks like Jamie Codd's going to pick him. I still think if Chapeau Desai runs, it'll reverse the form.
Got a chance. Jamie Codd said that as well. Jamie Codd said that after he won. Said that the way that horse came past me, like after the line, he said he wouldn't want to go against that horse again, didn't he?
I suppose the other one I mentioned there was form with strong leaders been around the track has been seen since piped at that with Moon Race, or didn't he? I think Cantor Bruno won there and he won well. Sluiced up the hill, but it was like they went no pace at the start of that race in October. Like, do you know what I mean? No pace whatsoever. I thought the winner of the bumper in the DRF was a decent one. Well, Dream to Share, and McManus now is after buying it, because I remember there I don't know where I read it, or someone led said to me above in the stand that they said that Patrick Mullen said the one danger in this race, I know I'm right in fact to fight, he said, but the one danger, he said, in this race is a Dream to Share. And Jesus Christ, we couldn't believe him. We didn't have a penny. I didn't have a penny on him, and we were both, a friend of mine was looking at me and saying, for fuck's sake, why don't we back the horse? But I really don't have a strong opinion there. But to be honest with you, I'm coming down is that the fact of the matter is that if Richie really wants Patrick Mullins won't be on it for me. I think he'll be on Chapeau Desai. That's just my opinion. I might be talking complete shite, but probably am. But if he runs and Patrick's on it, I'll be back in Chapeau Desai, because I like Better Days Ahead. I like him for the future. But if they've run, he will definitely reverse the form. But if I like, it's a deep enough race. I know Willie Mullins has 7 or 8 in it, whatever. But I don't really have a strong opinion. But if he does run, I will back Chapeau Desai in the race. Yeah.
It's mad, isn't it? I feel like Chapeau Desai, if it was like the 30 Hollow stuff, they'd have given him another run. Like I feel like
it's the extra run is putting me off. Yeah.
And I think if Patrick's mind was swayed in between the two of them, they'd have run on the race course so Patrick could know the answer personally. So I feel like he definitely rides this for me. I do like fun. It's just it's an exciting race, not one that I'm never going to get ever in a bumper going to fill my boots on something. But it is like a nice, interesting, speculative race. Darryl, I'll let you have your 2 minutes on it for me. You like him, didn't you? You think he's been the best bumper horse?
Yeah, like visually, I thought he was very, very impressive at Navan. I loved his point to point. That's worked out well. Rocked my way back in, but 10 lengths back in third. Obviously, he's rated in the mid 130s. Like, he could not have been any more impressive at Navan.
No, he was good.
Like, you can argue the form all you like, but there is some depth in it going back.
Yeah, he was good,
and like he was exceptional. He's just so fast, right? I just think that this field there is a lot of. I've got to be honest, there is a lot of promise in this field now.
Yeah,
as from January, it has built up quite nicely. But I do genuinely feel that a lot of these horses are like 3-mile chasers down the line. Yep. You know what I mean? Like the likes of Better Days Ahead and Western Diego. Like I don't feel that they've got the speed of an it. So like for me, I look at it for me and I think that's a Supreme Novice Hurdle horse next year. Mm-hmm. Like I don't see that from a lot of others. I very much respect the Dream to Share. Obviously the RPR, that horse recorded at the DRF, would have won 7 of the last 10 bumpers and only a pound shy of the other 3 as well. 140 recorded. So yeah, it's a big number from the Racing Post handicapper. I still think it's, for me, it's the best horse in the race. I really do. Look, it's more of a gut feeling than any sort of substance of evidence. I would respect Chapeau Desai if he gets in. I mean, I don't even know if he'll get in, will he?
Yeah, he might not get in. Yeah, that's the problem.
Yeah. So I respect him. Obviously, he looks like a potential improver next time, but I loved how keen, like not keen, but how like strong he was in Patrick's hands at Navan, and how he's just glided by him. It was just so effortless. Like it was a nudge. You know what I mean? It was a nudge down the neck, and he's away. I don't know. I think he's the fastest horse in the field. In all honesty.
Yeah, fair enough. So I'm not bullish, but I like It's For Me. I mean, sorry, I like fun, but I do like It's For Me. I think he's the right favourite. I'll probably back him. I think there could be money for a dream to share. It's the sort of race where I might end up sticking a couple in different types of bets, but I've had a little bit on him, fun. I just really hope she runs because, again, from like a longevity stuff, Daryl's exactly right. There's loads of promise in this race. Doesn't matter whether they win the races or not. I'm excited to watch lots of these hopefully run at Cheltenham. Jamie, your gun to head selection would be?
Or Chapeau de Slow, yeah, if he runs it.
Lovely. So that's Wednesday, wrapped up day 2. Let's quickly do our best bet for day 2. My best bet for day 2 is Hermes Adam, without doubt. Jamie?
Impero Pasta.
Go on, Daryl.
Impere pass.
Back the pair.